Morning. Today is Thursday, the 19th day of Elul, and we say today the extra 3 chapters in Tehillim. That's 55, 56, 57. And let's begin the Tanya Shir, and we'll begin with Tzedakah again. Gedoyle Tzedakah shemekareves es hageula. And today we begin letter 16 in Igeret Hakodesh. And as I mentioned in the past, this part of the Tanya that is called the Igeret Hakodesh, the holy letters, is unlike the other parts of the Tanya, which is a continuation of explanations of different concepts, and every chapter is connected with the previous chapters. This is not the case with Igeret Hakodesh. And every letter is a individual, separate concept. Most of the letters talk about tzedakah, as is the case with letter 16 that we're going to learn today. But as you remember, yesterday we had a whole different concept talking about the spiritual things, the emotive attributes, and so on. So today is a whole new thing. And today's letter, the Alter Rebbe writes to a community that apparently was suffering financially. And because of the financial problems, they decreased in the annual donations that they gave to the charity that the Alter Rebbe was collecting. He was collecting for the people who made an aliyah. They came to Israel and had no other source of income except for what the Alter Rebbe was collecting for them. And here the Alter Rebbe is talking about giving in times of difficulty, how important it is to give even when things are not so good. So let's see inside what the Alter Rebbe says. Says the Alter Rebbe begins with a letter. Le'anshei kehilas v'chulu, to the members of the community of that. It doesn't say which community it is. And he writes to them and he says, Ahuvai achai v'reyai asher kenafshi. My beloved, my brethren, and my friends who are to me like my own soul. So the Alter Rebbe, and I say, you, my beloved, you, my brothers, you, my friends. Ine, says the Alter Rebbe, loinela mimeni tzeikoitim. The hardship of these times are not hidden from me. I know the hardships of these times. Which, by the way, here in this statement, the Alter Rebbe already gives them the hope. He's telling them it is hardship of the times. Like they say, the inflation is transitory. It's time. It's now, it is difficult, but it is sure that things will change, God willing, and things will improve. Nevertheless, the Alter Rebbe, even in the time that is, they have the hardship of times. In that the means for earning of a livelihood have declined. Especially among those known to me from your community, whose hands have faltered. They became very, very desperate. So they are without any providers at all. No work available for either husband or wife. He's talking about that this community, where the Alter Rebbe wants to collect money from them. He says, the Alter Rebbe, I know exactly the situation. That I know the fact that you're loivim va'ichlin, They literally borrow in order to eat. They have no money to put food on the table. They have to borrow in order to put food on the table. So number one, the Alter Rebbe gives them the bracha. It says, Hashem yerachem aleim v'yachiv lahem b'tzar b'koreb. May God show them compassion and especially and speedily bring them respite from the straits. Right? This is number one, the Alter Rebbe gives them the bracha. God willing, everything will turn around and it will be okay. Nevertheless, says the Alter Rebbe, that the fact that they decreased the donations is not good. Nonetheless, they are not acting rightly unto their souls. They're not doing themselves a favor by not giving. Lafia Nishma, according to reports, that they close their hands, which all their life long, to this very day, has been open. Says the Alter Rebbe, that's not a good thing. Until now, you were open and you were given. Liten beyad meleya ve'ayin yafa lechol itztachus ha'echeichim l'dei machseire of yonim nekim. Until now, the hands will be open to give with a full hand and a generous eye for all vital necessities to satisfy the needs of the clean destitutes. What is the clean destitutes? You're talking about the people who is collecting money for, those poor people in the Holy Land. And he calls them clean destitutes. Clean poor people. What does it mean clean? There's two ways of understanding it. One way clean is that they're pure people, a clean heart, holy people. And the other understanding of clean, that they are so poor, excuse me, they're clean of anything. Like you take someone to the cleaners, completely clean, have nothing. It says those people that we are collecting for them, they are really clean. Whose eyes are lifted unto us. They're looking for us to support them. If we will not pity them, heaven forfend, who will? And the Alter Rebbe continues and says, the Torah instructs us that when we see our brother, we got to make sure that the brother lives with us. And it is written that your brother may live with you. It means one should share with his brethren, even that which is most essential for one's own life. So now the Alter Rebbe addresses a question. How could he say that I should give to someone else if I don't have myself? And he says there is a famous ruling in the Gemara. It says about two people that go in the desert together. One of them has a bottle of water, and the other one doesn't. And if they both are going to drink from the water, they came to a point that they don't have any other water. If both are going to drink from that bottle, they're both going to die. If one of them drinks from the bottle, then he most likely he will survive, but the other person won't. What do you do in such a case? So in the Gemara, there's actually two opinions. One opinion of Ben Psaira says No matter what, you have to share the water. You love your fellow like you love yourself. And also he quotes this very verse. It says, your brother should live with you. So whatever you have to share. Rabbi Akiva, however, says no. Rabbi Akiva says that very verse that says your brother should live with you, it means that you take precedence. Your brother should live with you. So when you're saying with imach, with you, it suggests that you have to take care of yourself first to make sure that you're able to drink and survive. And if you have extra, then you give it to your brother also. And that is the ruling. You rule like Rabbi Akiva, that chayecha koidmin, that your life takes precedence. You have to take care of yourself first before the life of somebody else. So here the Alter Rebbe raises this question, saying, how is it that we demand that you should give if you don't have money for yourself? So here the Alter Rebbe is going to explain that when are we saying that you have to take for yourself before you give somebody else, is when we're talking about if you don't have enough for the necessities, the absolute necessities. But if you have enough for your necessity, you just don't have enough to buy the new car, the new suit, or to go on the vacation. That, says the Alter Rebbe, you don't have the right to get the luxury before you help somebody else with their necessities. So this is what Alter Rebbe is telling us. That's what Alter Rebbe says, V'lo yomru chayecha koidmin, elo keshebiyad echad kitoin shel mayim v'chulu. As to the ruling of the sages, that your own life takes precedence. This applies only in a case when one has a pitcher of water in hand, and as we said before, that this will not be enough for both people to survive, only for yourself. That is, when it is equally essential that both drink in order to save their lives from thirst. However, but if the pauper, the poor person, needs bread for the mouth of the children, the babies, and firewood and clothes against the cold and the like, that poor person doesn't have any of these necessities. Says the Alter Rebbe, Kol dvarim elu koidmin lekol malbushei kavod v'zevach mishpacha basar v'dagim v'chol matamim shel adam v'chol bnei beis. And all these take precedence over any fine apparel. The Gucci and the going to the shop in the fancy clothing. And family feasts. You want to make a family feast with meat and fish and all kinds of delicacies for oneself and all of one's household. So that's if this is what you need, what you're missing, but the other person doesn't have even the basics, obviously, you should go help the other person first before you take yourself the luxuries. The rule that your own life takes precedence does not apply in such a case. Because these are not really essential to life, as are the needs of the poor in true equality. Kedisa beGemara beNedarim Daf Pei, as discussed in the Talmud Nedarim, page 80. This is what the Alter Rebbe says. I once mentioned the story of Rabbi Meir Shapira, the Rosh Yeshiva of Chachmei Lublin. He was going around to collect money for his yeshiva, and there was one wealthy person that used to give a regular nice donation annually, and he came over to him, and the guy says to the rabbi, "I'm sorry, Rabbi, there's difficult times. This year I cannot give." So the rabbi tells him, "You know what? In that case, I gotta divorce you." And he gets up and he is about to walk out. And the rich man became very curious, and he calls him, "Rabbi, what do you mean? What do you mean I gotta divorce you?" So he says, the Gemara discusses under what circumstances does one divorce his wife. One of the cases that is brought down, that Hillel says, "Afilu hikdicha tafshilo," even if she burned his meal. That's quite a that's quite a strong statement. If you burned the meal, that's a reason for divorce. And he explained to him, and he says, it happens to the best cook or the best homemaker that sometimes they burn the meal. The question is, what does she do when she burns the meal? So if a woman would be really, really devoted, a tzaddikus, righteous woman, what would she do? She would take, when the burn is meal, it's burnt at the bottom, she would take the top. And the top, she would give it to the husband. And she'd take for herself the burnt part. That's a woman that goes beyond. So, and an average woman, what would she do? She would split the meal, the dish right in the middle. So both of them have a little bit of the cooked and a little of the burnt. But a woman who doesn't care for her husband at all, she would cut out, she would take for herself the good part, and the burnt she would give to the husband. And that's called the Gedicha Tafshilo. She burned his portion, his meal. So Rabbi Meir Shapira told them this is the same thing also. When people make money and they decide what to do with the money. So some people would say, number one, we have to give a charity to help people. And then we take for ourselves. Others will say, we'll split smack in the middle, part for ourselves, part for charity. But some people will say, I'll do everything for myself. If I have some extras, I'll give away. But as soon as there is a difficulty, where is the first place I will cut? I will cut the charity. Person like this, we have to divorce. Person got very touched, and he says, "Rabbi, here, I'm going to give you." And here, this is what Alter Rebbe teaches us. Tells us that even when time is difficult, one should give tzedakah, because after all, this is so besides helping the others, this is also the source of blessings for ourselves also. The Eibusha should help that we should all have abundance, both physically, materially, spiritually, and in every aspect. Should have a good gebench to your aksiva v'chasima teva. Thank you for joining. Don't forget to share, subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem.